My name is Gregory Newson. I have three businesses. I have a water management company and a publishing company. But they afford me the opportunity to run away to the circus like this. And I go from Civil War reenactments from city, towns, all over the East Coast. And I'm invited many times to speak. Well, I find the story about the black Confederates because I was always curious about my ancestors, former slaves in the South, would fight for only the Northern Union armies. And then I realized also the let's go back, the American Revolutionary War. The British offered Afro-Americans their freedom if they would fight for the British, and none did. They all chose to fight for their colonial slave masters, all the way to the end of the Revolutionary War. And my thoughts were, what happened to that DNA? What happened to that type of Negro, Afro-American? And I realized he was just as loyal, devoted, and caring on the southern plantations and the southern way of life. But also another thing that really disturbed me is after learning just a simple concept that the winners of wars gets to write the history. And that provoked thought. That really stirred my thinking. And then I started studying some of the wars that we've won in the past as American, like World War I, Japan and Germany. Then I realized how not only did we win that war, but we went in and re-educated the population. And if you look at their history books, their embrace of their heritage, it's absent. They are absolutely absent of their culture. So I started, then another thing that riled me up is our government and some of our social organizations, I'm not going to mention any names, that have done good during the 40s and the 50s to advance black people and colored people's achievement, have become demolition squads. And for anybody to play with my intelligence to say that taking down a piece of cloth off a flagpole and digging up some people's graves and moving their monuments is going to help straighten out race relation, what do you think I am, stupid? That creates more racial divide. That makes one group hate another group even more. Where's our think tank around solving racial problems in America? It seems like it's absent, but there's a hidden agenda. Why? Media and the government and all that make sure that we get all the information we need, and they show us all the blood on the floor. They have an agenda to make sure that we do not understand the full truth. And Afro-American, my community, has been devastated by a cherry-pick history fed to us from the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. That's absent of the truth about Confederacy, the South, and white slave owners. And a lot of my own black companions don't believe there was black slave owners. They don't know about Anthony Johnson, an indentured servant that was captured in Angola, Africa, brought over here as a servant, and worked hard like a good American should, and bought his freedom. And then after that, he went out and bought slaves himself. Many of them was white. I mean, it just behooved me to wonder why I wasn't taught about the Barbary Wars. At the same time American slavery was going on, authentic slavery was happening over in Africa, with 1.5 million white Christians held by Africans in northern Africa and all through Africa. Why wasn't I told about that? So that is some of the things that's firing me up and having me running around the country painting and writings about the South, wearing this Confederate uniform, which I'm only here to provoke thought or maybe piss you off. Well, I'm talking about the blacks that fought for the South. And many of these Afro-Americans that fought for the South was raised on plantations that they was with their slave masters' sons and daughters. They had family that they left behind on these plantations. They had a sense of protecting what they felt was their communities. But to be honest with you, I think a lot of my black slave Southern descendants knew it was better to fight for the devil you do know than to go fight for the devil you don't know. I'm not sure what I do is going to preserve anything, but I have a civil war, or had a civil war going on inside myself, like we all do. And as an artist, artists have a very difficult time becoming passionate with something and sticking with it. We'll lose our interest, rather quickly. And as a painter and an artist, I realized that my artistic abilities can help tell a story that very few of my community is willing to portray. I have friends and relatives that make 6 figures annually and still going around talking about them being deprived and black folks are this and that and whatever it is, and still are grinding their axe about the racial indifference that they feel is going on in America. I must say one thing about, I have a counter person like myself that's working the Southern. His name is H.K. Etchison. Now, I'm very fortunate. I go to Civil War and reenactments and art shows, and I'm pretty much protected by the groups at these events. But H.K., he goes all throughout the South, through the streets, through the monuments. He's confronted by people saying, "Are you crazy?" I'm sure he gets a lot more pushback than I do. But I have my writing ability, my artistic ability, and I own 3 companies that finance me being able to run away to the circus like this. So I'm very happy. Yeah, I do. I get pushback not only from the black community, but I get pushback from white young people that they're not racist. They just really feel like, hey, pointing at me, are you stupid? Don't you know that the South disrespected your people, your community, the whole bit. I do feel discomfort, but thank God I've lived long enough to know that this is part of the territory. Anything that you want bad enough, you're going to get pushed back. You're going to be challenged. You're going to be a confrontation. But the main thing that I'm happy about, that I'm passionate enough to not let whatever happens, happen. Listen, Martin Luther King showed unbelievable bravery. Stonewall Jackson, he broke Virginia law, teaching Afro-Americans how to read and write, which was totally against the law, and he told them to take a hike. He had such a personality and a charisma that will surpass Tony Robinson and any other motivational speaker, because he was a real representation of the type of really people the South was made up of. Well, I think it's wrong and spineless for any American or leader of Americans, think tanks, to say that as Americans, we got to sweep our dirt underneath the carpet. Me, myself, I've made a lot of bad decisions in my life, But I am so glad I lived past them, I embraced them, and it helped shape me to be the kind of man, I don't know if I'm a better man now, but I know that my mistakes helped me get here to have a passion and a calling for something. And if we start hiding what we, listen, young people that want to take down statues and monuments and whatnot, they haven't lived long enough to know what to take down, never even less how to tie up their pants. You have to live long enough in life and participate long enough in life to realize that all things works in God's plan. It's all part of. The Irish was brought here against their own will. Thousands died on ships coming here. The Italians, Afro-Americans. There's blood on the floor on all races of the building of America. And for us to keep trying to tear down the defenseless South, the defenseless people down there, because they have no politicians and political leaders that'll stand up against saying, no, you're not going to come in and take Stonewall Jackson's monument down or change the school name. A piece of cloth on a pole is a threat? Come on, how stupid are we? It's a piece of cloth. I don't know where the phrase came from. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. I think the best thing for those people that want to dig up graves, take down flags, move monuments, I think they should spend more time being more successful at their business, raising their families, saving, keeping their money maybe in their community if they feel so passionate. But keep grinding our axe like this, because and I'm talking about these are people that make $300,000, $200,000 a year that's going around talking like this. Sorry to be so, whatever. They represent a defenseless group of people that I feel should have a voice. And as an ex-slave from a family that were slaves, and understand, listen, I'm an artist, and I have a picture in my mind of what my life should be. And pictures are made up of colors: red, blue, yellow, cyan, magenta. Pictures are made up of colors. Now, if I have a particular problem with a color, let's say the white, before my revolution, the color white was giving me a hell of a problem. But what should I do? Should I tell my black community, let's get rid of the whites and just deal with all the colors? That picture that we have in our mind will be less visual. We cannot deal with indifference, racism, by excluding or hating a group of people because of color. We must embrace that color and realize that color can be the missing puzzle to our success. But I'm only talking as an artist that sees color as my way of interpreting or bringing visualization to an image I have in my mind.